I'm Julie Atwood,
Okay.
and I'm the founder of the HALTER Project.
What is the HALTER Project?
The HALTER Project does two things. We started in 2013 as a program that was focused on training first responders to assist large animals, particularly equines, cattle, in local emergencies. So things where animals get stuck and have to be pulled off the edge, or trailer accident, or animals who've fallen into a hole, or just an old horse maybe who can't get up. And very quickly that program became successful, and we expanded to include community members and realized that people not only didn't know very much about how to prepare for an emergency or what to do, but they had no idea of what to do in a disaster. So we now have two programs, one focused on training first responders to handle animals in local emergencies, and the other is community outreach and education, communicating to the public how to be better prepared for disasters, with an emphasis on animals.
Well, that's
a mouthful.
Exactly. No, but that's how we found you, because you had a table at the symposium conference center, and it had all of the different implements and lists and checklists, and I thought that was fantastic, because it had anything having to do with an emergency that you might not want to think of 5 minutes ahead of the emergency.
Well, thank you for stopping by, and thank you for noticing. And yeah, what happened is that we started going to events and also producing events that focused on emergency and disaster preparedness for animals, all kinds of animals, from the little ones all the way to the great big ones. And we realized that usually we were the only people at any given event with any type of disaster preparedness information. So I expanded my arsenal or my library of materials to include basically something for everybody. So animals are like the carrot. You know, we all know we should have a ready kit. We all know that we should have emergency supplies. But do we do it for ourselves? Not always. Do we do it for someone else or something that's really important to us? Yes. Will we do it for our grandmother, for our children, for our pets, for our horses? Yes. So now a lot of my friends tell me, well, in the last fire, the last flood, I ran out without any underwear or reading glasses, and I didn't have any cash, but I had my dog's ready kit, or I had my horses or my donkeys ready kits. So that's really what we're trying to do, is get people to be aware of all the things that can happen and just try to be as prepared as possible.
Now, in the rest of the country, we're used to things like tornadoes and floods, and even though they've gotten quite a bit more common, unfortunately, than they had before, and we've got all kinds of things we didn't think of before. But in California, where it used to be 72 and sunny year-round, it's not really like that, and especially with the fire problem that we have now, it's chronic. What kind of a response have you seen from people, and what kind of things would you recommend for people to have with them and to be ready to prepare for a fire or another disaster?
You know, you just nailed it, in that the rest of the country is, for the most part, way, way, way ahead of California. Even though we live with the constant threat of earthquakes. I think earthquakes are just so big, we all just, we have those blinders on. But we were slow to catch on. We lived in, I think, a state of false security. And in the last few years, nature has definitely given us a whole bunch of wake-up calls. We've had a lot of big drills. And so, ready for whatever. I wish I had one of my bags to give to you today. So one of our fun taglines and a tote bag and some banners that we use actually say, ready for whatever. What I tried to do was make preparedness and emergency and disaster planning and awareness fun. If you can put those concepts together in your brain. My day job is event planner. So, I bring the fun, I bring the great food, I bring the prettiness. I wanted to bring that way of thinking to planning. You go to government emergency fairs, and God bless them for doing it, but they're kind of dull, they look very corporate, it's the same stuff. So we tried to reach out to people by bringing really interesting speakers, presenting a different way of thinking, look at all the different things that can happen. And along the way, I've been doing this for 6 years, I learned a tremendous amount from government resources, from institutions like University of California at Davis, Colorado State, Florida State, Texas A&M, places where I have friends who work with animals and the community and have been developing better and better and better ways of educating people for preparedness. So I think I lost sight of your question.
You know what? I realized it was an incredibly broad question with what would one prepare for, but I think the more effective...
Everything.
That's about it. So if somebody wanted to find some of the checklists that you had, because there are pages and pages of things that you might think about, but a page of things that you must think about. Where would they go? Give me your contact information. Do you have a website? Or?
We do, and there is so much stuff, and I learned that. It was really hard to know, where do I go to get this information? That's what propelled me to ramp up the HALTER Project and move beyond our focus of training first responders. So it's to try to create, I won't say one-stop shop, because there'll never be one place to go for everything for everybody in the world. But we really try to develop a trustworthy, easy to use, very broad spectrum resource library so that our followers who are all across the state, the country, and around the world would have a place to go. And a lot of the information is consistent, no matter what your emergency, what your disaster, where you live. There's certain things that are always going to be consistent. So our website, which is halterproject.org, has a ton of information. We're constantly working to make it easier to use and make things easy to find, because we do have a lot. If you go to our website, you can look at our menu and you might choose preparedness resources, or training and education, or how can I become a volunteer? So choose your topic, go to that place, and then start scrolling down.
Okay,
it's like spending time in the library.
That's fantastic. A lot of those forms will be on the website.
We have lots.
Wonderful.
We have documents. We have links to other people's resources. And I think one of the things that you asked about was our Barn and Ranch Disaster Action Plan binder. So we actually have that, which is our big binder for people who live in rural environments, and we also have a smaller one, the home and pet preparedness binder. And if you use Dropbox, we can send you a link to a shared Dropbox so you can download the entire thing. Or if you want us to just kind of cherry pick and send you a few selected documents, you can do that. So however much or however little you have the time and the energy for, we want to help.
Fantastic. Okay, now the one thing I do want to ask that you can't get from the website, you are here at an equine event. And the one thing that we found when we had the fire, that we had horrible, horrible fires in San Diego.
Yeah.
Well, we consistently had them. But what does one do when you have an animal that you may or may not usually trailer? If you have 3 horses and one trailer that usually keeps 2 horses, or you have 20 goats and you really only have enough trailer for 5 because that's all you ever take around with you, and you have to get them out.
So I am an equine owner, and we have a ranch, and that's actually what propelled me to learn as much as I could and to actually join, ultimately, as of this month, 5 animal disaster response teams that I am a trained member of. So I'm a disaster service worker in the animal sector. So what do you do if you have animals that can't be loaded for whatever reason? Number one is to always make sure that you have multiple plans for anything that might happen. And certainly evacuation is one way to go, but it's not always going to be possible. So having only one plan, especially if that one plan is evacuation, that's not your safety net. You need to have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. And if you have animals that you know are not going to load, you're not going to be able to take them somewhere, then you absolutely have to do everything you can to create what fire service calls a safe refuge, and what we basically call our safe place or defensible space. So you have to do everything possible to make the animal's home a safe place for them to ride out whatever is happening. So we're talking about fire right now. It's September. Fire is going on both ends of the state. we're at ground zero of the October 2017 fires ourselves. So that means that easiest thing to do is download the CAL FIRE. I don't work for CAL FIRE, I don't work for a government agency, but download the CAL FIRE Ready for Wildfire app. That gives you a step-by-step self-assessment. You can walk around your property. It's just like having CAL FIRE there with you doing a site inspection, which is something else that we strongly recommend. But if you haven't done that before, you're probably not going to get anybody right now because they're busy. So download the Ready for Wildfire app and start looking around your property and make sure that you have a safe place for your animals to be where fire can't hurt them. Make sure that you have a really strong and reliable and accessible water supply. And even if we're not looking at a fire or a storm, we are also looking at extended power outages now, planned and unplanned. And those power outages in areas like where you live and where I live, they could last anywhere from 5 to 10 or 12 days. We're in a place where we're probably going to be without power when the power company, when the utility shuts it off for 10 to 12 days. So know exactly how much water you need per animal. One of the things that I had out yesterday was a poster that tells you exactly how much each species needs, starting with us, the humans, and going all the way down to your chickens and your rabbits. And equines require more water than anything else. They can go for several days without food, but they cannot be without water for more than 10 to 12 hours. They need a lot of water.
Now, all of this is on the website.
It is.
Link to it. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. This is a great thing. I mean, this is a whole topic you could do. But it's true. This is our new reality, isn't it?
It is.
So better prepare for it.
It is. Well, thank you. I hope will help a lot of people listening.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.